It's time for a Tribeca Spotlight. On today's show, I'm talking to Meriem Sakrouhi, a filmmaker whose short film, Mon Taxi, is playing at the Tribeca Film Festival. It's a beautiful tribute to her father, told through a series of phone messages and some great New York City scenery. We talk about the movie, we talk about her life, and how she decided to pursue this project, and some other stuff too. I hope you enjoy it, and if you do, like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I've got more cool stuff coming up. All right, enough from me. Let's get into it. This is Meriem Sakrouhi. Take me back. Let's go to the inception. You go, all right, I want to make a short film. What do I want to make it on? Or do you go, I've got these feelings about my father. I want to articulate them somehow. How do I do that?
I think it's a little bit closer to the second. Um, I didn't really have an intention at all. This film happened as an accident. I There was something that I really wanted to share with my dad, and one day I left home. I was on a walk, and I did what I usually do, which is call my dad on my walk somewhere. And I forgot that he had passed. So I took my phone and I wanted to call him, and I was like, shoot, I can call him. And I decided in the spot, since I was walking alone, you know what? I still want to tell him this, so I'm gonna just record a voicemail. And that's how it started. And it like surprised me. It really surprised me how freeing it was to let it out, and to be able to talk to him. And because it felt, freeing, I just kept doing that. Every time I was in a situation where I had news I really wanted to share, or I just felt like I wanted to talk to him about something, I would pick up the phone and record a voicemail. And I kept doing that through a year and a half. I actually still do that now. And eventually, throughout the process, something clicked. And I remember I had seen a fig tree that I really wanted to send him, which is also a thing that happened. Like sometimes I see something and I was like, "Oh, check this out." But that specific, the fig tree was because my dad is from the Rif region of North Africa, North Morocco, and it's an indigenous area, and they have like the best fig trees. I used to eat a lot of figs in my childhood, and it meant something to me to share with him a fig tree that looked different from his. And something clicked because I had like the visual aspect of it and I had the voice aspect of it. And I was like, you know what? Like I could use my creative outlet of film, to make the film about this. And even when I decided to do that, it was not intended as a short that I'm gonna send out to festivals to premiere. It was mostly I was doing it for me, and maybe I was considering sharing it with my family. Although because it was so vulnerable, even sharing with my family felt like I'm not sure I'm gonna do that, but I might just because it might help them. That's how it happened. I didn't plan this short. It just happened.
Um, so tell me a little bit about the process of allowing yourself to be vulnerable first in making it, and then in showing it to people. When did you go from showing it to maybe family and close friends to, I think I want a crowded theater of people to be able to watch this? And uh, well, let's start with that.
Yeah, I the process was I think it made it easier for me to be so vulnerable because I at the time thought I was only doing it for myself. So I didn't limit myself. I wasn't filtering anything. It was just for me. Then eventually, someone last year at Tribeca asked me what I was working on, and I told them, "Hey, like I'm working on this project. It's very personal. It's about, talking to my dad after he passed." And she just loved the idea, and she was telling me, she told me, Miriam, you should consider, showing it at festivals because it's something that a lot of people could relate to. And that kind of stayed with me. And then yeah, because of that reason, the reason of it's being something people could relate to, and maybe that will help them. that was my motivation for, okay, you know what, maybe I should share it with people. And it is nerve-wracking, and it feels still like I am being emotionally naked in front of an audience by doing this. But I am excited about potentially reaching people that might feel something similar.
I mean, there's something to be said for these stories being so specific but also universal. Um, Tell me about the emotional. Is it vindicating, or is it almost do you feel like you're almost undermined by how strongly people can relate to your story, where you go, oh, I thought this was so specific to me and how I feel, but it turns out that everyone has these feelings, or at least some variation on how I'm going through this, you know?
Yeah. What actually what you said reminded me of something that I heard a couple of months ago. I went to the Marrakesh International Film Festival for the first time actually, and I went to a talk by Bong Joon-ho, the South Korean filmmaker, the master, and he said that quote. He said something very similar. He said, you know, the more specific and the more personal you are, the more universal the story is. And that really struck me. And it's something similar to what you're saying right now. And I was like, oh my God, that's true. Like the more specific I am about my feelings and sharing my grief and sharing the emotions I'm going through, the more universal, because a lot of people are having those feelings. It's just that nobody, no, not nobody, not a lot of people talk about them. Um, so yeah, I don't really have expectations at all for what people will feel looking at the film. I just hope that, you know, people can relate to it somehow. Or if, you know, if not, at least it would maybe give the permission to be authentic and to be vulnerable, no matter what, you know, is happening in their lives.
I've often been called the Bong Joon-ho of Newsweek.
Okay, that is an incredible. Okay, I was gonna say, wow, that's like the best name to be called. I would like to
Yeah,
be called Bong Joon-ho.
I give it some time. Give it some time. This is, this is your big coming out,
But
this
that
film.
really struck with me when he said that. I was like, okay, it reaffirmed. By that time, I had already submitted to Tribeca. It had been, I think, a month. And when he said that, it kind of, I was very nervous. I was a lot calmer. I was like, okay, you know, maybe it is a good decision to share it with people.
You talked about the inception of making this into your film. Um, were there other projects that you were mulling or considering or working on that you kind of put to the side to work on this? And has this influenced, not to put the cart in front of the horse, but whatever you might want to do next?
Yes, to both. I did have a short, a narrative short that I had written that I was working on, and I kind of put to the side eventually while I was working on wrapping this up. Um, and you know, I will come back to it when it's time. But many times I do have many things happening at the same time that I put aside. And sometimes when I let something sit for long enough, then many times it becomes better because I get a better, you know, idea and then I add it to it. So yeah, I do have a script that I had written that I want to develop eventually. It's also about, it has something to do with my dad as well because it's female living in New York, photographer living in New York, and how she handles the change of her relationship with her dad as their roles kind of change from her becoming the adult to him becoming a younger version of himself. Very much influenced by my true life in becoming a caregiver for my dad. And for in terms of future projects as well, or projects I'm working on now that are inspired by this, I think a lot of my work is personal. I don't think there is a world where I'm not gonna do personal work, but I'm working on a feature documentary that has to do with Moroccan sports. I won't say a lot about it, but it has to do with Moroccan sports, and it is inspired by a ritual of watching Moroccan sports with my dad and with the rest of my family.
It sounds like you have a great relationship with your family. Um, Tell me about becoming a filmmaker. Bring me back. When did you go? I want to tell these stories, whether they're about your father, or whether they're about Morocco, whether they're about just something you come up with in your head. When do you go, I don't want to be, you know, an astronaut or a cowboy or whatever you wanted to be, and you wanted to become a filmmaker?
The My first memory of wanting to that I wanted to tell stories, and maybe I didn't even realize what it was back then, was around I was around 10, and my grandfather gifted me a camera. It was like a vintage camera. Um, I had an incredible relationship with my grandfather, and he sadly had there was a medical error in a surgery, and he was in a coma, like half conscious, half unconscious, but he was laying down in a bed for 13 years. And throughout those 13 years, I I was still living in Morocco back then. I mean, I was very young. I was 10. I would be outside and like observe things, and I would come and report back to him. And I really enjoyed just telling him stuff and like creating, like naming whatever I saw. A lot of times, a little bit when I was a little bit older, I remember like giving the character names, even though I observed them from afar. So I would be like, Yusuf did that, but I just gave him a name. So that's how I think my storytelling started. I didn't realize back then. It's just looking back. A few years ago, I realized that I was doing that, and that was me doing storytelling to my grandfather. And then also it was with the photos. Like I was taking photos, I was showing him photos. We had a little projector that we put in the ceiling because he was laying down, and he would see some photos from the outside. And I think that was, I fell in love with just being able to transport someone into another world by telling them stories.
That's funny. I almost feel like we have similar stories, but the opposite. I would want people to tell me stories, and that's basically what I'm doing
That's
now.
good for me. I can tell you stories.
Exactly. Well, so tell me about moving from Morocco to the States and becoming a filmmaker.
Yeah, it didn't happen directly. When I was 17, I left home. I went to Spain for 3 years to study architecture. From there, I went to Chicago to continue architecture and finish my degree there. And then I came to New York. I always wanted to eventually, one time in my life, live in New York. So I wanted to give it a shot. And I was the whole time while I was doing architecture, I already knew I wanted to do film. So I was doing a lot of film in the side, little videos, little films that I would usually just screen to my friends and sometimes send to my family. I would make videos in their birthdays and things like that. And then in architecture school, I used to be the only person that every time that I presented a project, architectural project, I would have a video with it or a film with it, depending on the project. Uh, and I just kept doing that. I got a day job in architecture, and in the side, I was doing still little videos and films sometimes. And my dream has always been to become just a full-time filmmaker. And to be honest, I'm still in the process of, it's only recently that I gave myself permission to call myself a filmmaker. Um, and it's still a work in progress.
It's very humble because I know so many people who call themselves filmmakers who haven't made anything. So it's good that you've made so much and only just allowed yourself the privilege. Uh, anyway, so New York City. Tell me, has it lived up to your expectations? Do you love it? I can say that it hasn't lived up to my expectations, but I can't imagine living anywhere else.
That is a great answer. I think I have, like many people do, um, a love-hate relationship with New York. And it's a lot more love than hate, and that's why I'm still here. And I think the film also portrays that, and I wanted the film to portray that. New York can be a lot sometimes, and and it has been a lot for me many times. And for some reason, I just don't want to go anywhere else. So, so it's in a way the place that, you know, breaks you and hurts. It hurts even like when you're going through something, it hurts even more. But it has been also the place that's been healing me as well. So I love New York, and I'm very happy that it's part of my film. And because of New York, it's such an honor to premiere at Tribeca for that reason as well. It was like my dream. It was my dream premiere since the film is so, New York City based.
Well, congratulations. Thank you so much for your time,
Thank you.
for the film, for putting yourself out there. And
Thank you.
whatever you do next, I hope to talk to you for that as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zach. Thank you so much. It was a lovely conversation.